Okay, great. So getting in there. Start up my video. Stop this. Our next guest in the breakout room is an author, speaker, and master in professional communication. An expert in collaboration and has run workshops for thousands of people in 12 countries over 20 years. He consults with Fortune 500 companies to help them achieve better, smarter outcomes from more effective internal and external relationships. This is our guest. His name is Peter Anthony. His publication, Collabradabra, The Magic of Collaborative Conversations. It highlights the 6 moments that matter to maximize collaborative outcomes, one conversation at a time. This is his publication. So let's welcome live in the breakout room this fascinating collaborator and communicator, Peter Anthony. So we are live in the breakout room, and we have the man Peter Anthony, and he is with us. Peter, how are you doing?
G'day, Andy. Very well. Good morning from Sydney, Australia. I've just had a swim in the ocean, which I do most mornings, so I'm all charged up. It's the best way to start the day, to dive in the ocean and swim with some friends. Great.
Wonderful to have you in the breakout room. And you are somewhat of a magician in terms of the term that you use for your book. But we're going to get into that in a little bit, Peter. I'm looking at your information here, and it says, as an introverted 6-year-old, my mother insisted I came out of my bedroom to talk to my Uncle Harry and his family. We just want you to share a little bit with us what it was like as a young man, Peter Anthony, growing up with your family, with your parents and your uncle and stuff. What was that like for you?
It was, initially it was a nightmare, Andy, because I was, as you just mentioned, I was a very introverted kid. And all I really wanted to do was get home from school. On my walk home from the school I went to, there was a small library. I'd go to the library, I'd get a couple of books out. I'd come home and I'd just start reading. And I used to read like nights, weekends, and I just loved being absorbed in stories and in books. And my mother came from a family of a very large Irish Catholic family. She had lots of brothers and sisters, 9 in fact. And one of them, her brother Harry, would come over regularly on weekends, on Sundays. My mother would cook lunch for him and his family, and it was a great occasion. But I didn't join them because I just wanted to read my books. And my mother's mission was to get me out of my bedroom and talking to my uncle. And I said, Mum, I don't want to do that. I just want to be alone, want to read my books. I didn't want to get engaged in that conversation. She encouraged me to come out. She said, look, just ask your Uncle Harry questions. Just ask him questions. And I came out of my room. I had lunch with them, and I just asked Harry questions. I said, Harry, I heard you were a lumberjack in the bush here in Australia. What was that like? And he told me awesome stories, Andy, about the Australian bush and being a lumberjack, and he was hilarious. He's an awesome individual to listen to. And that was the beginning of my understanding of how having conversations is an essential and crucial part of life. Yeah. And I learned then that if I just asked questions of people, no matter how introverted I was, they'd give me answers, right? And that began me on that. That's where that's where this whole career began. I didn't realize it then. As an introverted 6-year-old, I ended up traveling the world talking about this, but that was where it all started.
Okay, great. Thanks for sharing, Peter. You ended up working at IBM. And,
yes.
How did that happen?
How'd that happen? Well, that was all about money, unfortunately. That was all about money. I did a economics degree at Sydney University or at college. And at the end of the 3 years, they have another thing called Careers Week, where all the employers come on campus and they interview, and you get a chance to meet the employers and see whether you wanted to work for them. And I was thinking I'd be a stockbroker or I'd work for a big consulting firm. And we could see 20 employers. And one of them towards the end of my list was IBM. I thought I wouldn't join IBM. I don't know nothing about computers. I'm not IT literate at all.
Yeah.
But I met them. I met them and I talked to them. I said, I'll come to a second interview. And they were offering 3 times as much money as any other alternative.
Okay.
I got a year of sales training, 1 year of training.
Wow.
And a car. Right. So I thought, okay, I'll take the year of training. I'll take the 3 times salary. I'll take the car.
Yeah.
And I'll learn to sell from IBM. I thought, wow, that's going to be a great benefit. So I decided to join them. Right. And I was there for 5 years in total. And something interesting happened then too, Andy. It was really quite bizarre because I mentioned they gave us a year of training. Like it was, we had like a series of workshops on selling and periods in the office. I was given a mentor, a senior salesperson to look after me. And I learned from him about what this was about. But the bizarre thing that happened, Andy, was that in the beginning, I was selling a lot.
Okay.
And what I found was the more I learned how to sell, the less I sold.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
The more I learned all the techniques and the opening questions and the closing questions and the rapport building, all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And we used to get videoed and get video feedback. And the more I followed their structure, the less I sold. I noticed my mentor, who was a very successful senior salesperson and an awesome person, Rod, I noticed he wasn't following these techniques either. Okay. I thought, this is weird. I mean, I'm selling more by not selling. Right. And so set up a weird thing in my brain, thinking, what's going on? Yeah. Surely the selling stuff works, but it didn't. It didn't work. And that began, I guess, the second stage of this was thinking about, okay, I'm really keen to build commercial relationships. I'm really keen to offer people value and help improve what's going on for them, no matter what I'm selling. Then I was selling computers, whether you're selling computers or cars or IT systems or photocopiers, or whatever it might be. You think, well, I'm looking towards engaging in a commercial relationship. And we all know that traditional selling doesn't work. It's true. It's contrived, it's fake. You're using all these like power closing techniques. Yeah. And it creates distance between you and the person you're attempting to sell to. It does. It makes them cynical. Yeah. I mean, when you feel like you're being sold to, what happens? You feel, I don't like this. I'm going to pull back. I'm going to try and get lower prices. So if the person feels like you're selling to them, you're making the sale harder to happen. Yeah, actually, yes. We all feel this way, right? You all feel this way. You don't like selling. You don't like being sold to. So I thought, well, what do I do? What's the alternative to this? And that question I asked then led me on the journey to where I am now, which is teaching unselling. Right. Okay, great. I'm glad that you're going there, Peter, because you have done this for over 20 years. That's quite a long time. Yeah. And you have traveled to over 12 countries. Yes. Now, what is the main focus then that you have found that level of success with regards to the market potential? Forget the selling.
We're talking about having collaborative conversations where people are more focused on enjoying the value of what you're bringing to them rather than looking to buy something. So
exactly.
Right. So how did you do it? How did you reach to that stage where it became a product that's so much in demand that you could travel over 12 countries for 20 years?
And still going strong, Andy.
Right, exactly.
And still going strong. Well, the secret, what I realized was that if selling doesn't work, what does? I understood intuitively that a collaborative relationship is what works best.
Okay.
I studied this. I developed workshops in this, and I called it Collabradabra. It rhymes with abracadabra, the magic of a collaborative conversation.
That's what I was talking about earlier, the magical part of you.
Yeah, it's magic, because magic does happen when you do it properly. You think, well, my intention is to collaborate. I make that really open. My intention is to be authentic and genuinely me.
Right.
And my intention is to be optimistic. So I believe that we can achieve better outcomes for both of us when we collaborate. And all the research says the same thing. If you look at any longer term relationship, and I'm assuming a commercial relationship is a longer term relationship, you're both better off when you collaborate. That's you and them. So okay, I get that. So the next question becomes, well, how do I do that? So if I want to have a collaborative conversation, how do I go about doing that? So I studied this very closely, and through working in these 12 countries with thousands of people, I developed this collaborative approach, and I wrote a book on it.
All right.
To explain how it works. Yeah.
Wonderful. So Peter, tell us, what are some of the traditional barriers that people would face from time to time, the challenges that would deny them the opportunity to have collaborative conversations? Is it limiting beliefs? Is it culture? Is it what are some of the things that could be barriers?
I think it's certainly limited. It's also cultural pieces too, because some cultures are more introverted than others, particularly some of the Asian cultures I've worked in. Like I've worked in China, I've worked in South Korea, I've worked in Hong Kong and Singapore, and some cultures are more more reserved and more introverted and more shy, if you like.
Right.
There are cultural aspects to this, but there's also a false narrative that we've been told that if we're in a sales relationship, we need to win something. Like the more that we can like this fake it till we make it thing, this thing that I need to be this shiny, fake it till you make it, always be closing, bell ringing salesperson. And in fact, that's a myth. And we know it's a myth. It doesn't work. What we do know works, and this is the essence of the evolutionary spirit too. We know we feel good by doing well. We know we feel good in great relationships, and we know we want to do the right thing by the people we're talking to. Now, what that does is it opens up a different level of relationship with the people that you're in a commercial relationship with, because they can feel this collaborative spirit coming from you.
Right. Great. Yeah. So, Peter, thinking about it, we're looking at that from a commercialized point of view. Can some of these collaborative techniques also work in personal relationships, your spouse, business partner?
Yeah, absolutely. There is an awesome individual in the US called John Gottman. He runs what he calls the Love Lab at University of Washington, and he talks about a personal and romantic relationship being a conversation. He sits people on couches, in couples and couches in Washington. He records them talking to each other about anything. It could talk about the dog, lemon trees, the kids, anything at all. He content analyzes the conversation, and he can predict whether that relationship is going to be successful or not, just based on the conversation and nothing else, just how they're talking to each other. Yeah,
that's very interesting.
And he teaches people to have better relationships by having better conversations. He calls them the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse,
right?
like things like stonewalling, defensiveness, criticism. And he says, if you continue talking to each other this way, your relationship is doomed.
Okay.
So you can keep it doomed or you can change it. And he teaches people to have better romantic relationships based on their conversations, which is awesome. So it is the essence of who we are. In my mind, our relationship is the conversation. It is the best marker for how well that relationship is going. Personal friendships, romantic relationships, commercial relationships, it's all about the conversation. And that's the main message I'd like to leave with you guys is it's all the quality of your relationships is the quality of your conversations. So let's have more of them and let's get them right.
Okay. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing, Peter. That sounds inspiring. Now, let's just suppose hypothetically that someone has the opportunity to reach out for a business deal, let's say in some far parts of the Far East. You've been to Singapore and these places.
Yeah.
There's a cultural barrier, of course, that exists. What are some of the techniques or advice, practical advice that you would give such an individual that they would be able to better manage the level of collaborative conversations that they would need to have?
It's what I originally thought, Andy, when I first began working overseas. I used to think, who's this little old guy from Sydney, Australia, working in New York, working in London, working in Cairo, working in Beijing? I think, who am I to do this? But then what I realized was that the clients I'm working with in Australia are the same people I'm working with in China or in Dallas.
Okay.
They're the same people with the same problem. Like, just say, for example, I happen to be working with Microsoft in Australia. I'm working with a sales team there, and they're working with their clients. Those salespeople in New York with their clients have the same problem that people in Sydney have with their clients. Okay. It's the same problem. Yeah, the same problem. So if you're good at understanding and solving the customers or the client's problem in your geography, and you get the best at that, you can do it anywhere in the world. Okay. Anywhere because it's the same people with the same problem. Just like, say, for example, if I buy a pair of Nike runners and I'm in Sydney, Australia, there could be a guy in Los Angeles with the same runners, or a guy in Cairo with the same runners, because he's looking to solve the same running problem or sports problem I am. The reason brands work globally, and you are a brand, the reason they work globally, it's the same consumers and same customers with the same problem that brand is solving. Okay. So you can work anywhere in the world. Of course, there are language barriers. Yeah. But even then, I've worked in Shanghai. I've run workshops, and every word I say is completely translated. Okay. I've run workshops with people that can't even speak English. Yeah. Right? It's a bizarre experience having an interpreter alongside you. I met my interpreter and I said, so how does this work? She says, well, you're going to say a couple of words and I'm going to interpret. I said, a couple of words? Wow. I'm a guy that talks in paragraphs, not words, right? And she was translating every single word. Okay. Right? It was bizarre. So what I would suggest is, if you can solve your client's problem where you are, you can solve it anywhere in the world. Okay, great. Yeah. Great. Thanks for sharing, Peter. Cool. How has this experience and the information that you have gathered assiduously over the years, how has this helped you in your personal relationships and develop collaborative conversations and, I guess, collaborative relationships with people in your circle, whether it be personal or business or otherwise? It has improved my life dramatically, Andy, and it improved it. I guess on two levels. One is financially, obviously, because it's a way of living that it has supported me and 5 children for over 20 years. So definitely worked financially. But I think that there is also like almost a spiritual sense to this too, because the world has never been more polarized. We've never talked to each other less. Apple research since 1996 is suggesting they research how often people are using their phones to have conversations. The number of conversations and length of conversations has fallen every year since 1996. Wow. We're talking to each other less, and the Pew research out of the US suggests that we've never been more polarized. We've never been less likely to change our point of view. And this is really concerning because parallel to that's a rise in anxiety and stress. We're less happy, more stressed, more anxious than ever before, and talking to each other less. So what I feel like is I'm almost like a conversational evangelist. Say, hey, let's talk to each other more and collaborate more and make the world a better place for all of us, just one conversation at a time. And I genuinely believe that this is the secret sauce.
Okay.
Which is why I'm so animated. I love this stuff, Andy. I love getting on podcasts like yours and getting people to remember we are human beings that are hardwired. It's the essence of our evolutionary spirit to have conversations with each other and build relationships by way of conversation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. Have you had the opportunity to work with non-profit organizations as well?
Yes.
In terms of getting their people to collaborate and being on the same page and just working on collaborative measures to improve their conversations, their communication, and by extension, the way they put their service and their products out there to the people.
Absolutely. In more recent years, I've worked with 7 large not-for-profits. I won't say who they are, but one of them is a huge global international charity.
Yeah.
And I've also worked with smaller local ones. Now, and I work with them in 2 ways. I get them to have better, more effective conversations with their large donors.
Okay.
Because there are wealthy individuals in the world that are individual donors, and one donor can help cure a disease. I was working with one organization recently that only needed $3 million to cure a childhood disease in Asia.
Wow.
And they did it for one person, but they were afraid to talk to them in case they mucked it up. So we talked about how to have collaborative conversations with donors and also how to pitch their message to big corporate donors, to how to tell the story of who they were and who they were serving so they could pitch the message better. It's tremendously worthwhile work, because what I find is that people that work in not-for-profit sectors, they're tremendously good human beings in terms of wanting to improve the world, but they're afraid to share that message. So if I can be the guy that helps them do that, bingo, even more magic.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So
even more magic.
Right. So I'm going to share something with you as you spoke about sharing stories. And I want to get your feedback on it, because when I listened to it first, I realized it was so direct and precise. So let's hear what you have to say.
G'day, this is Peter Anthony, and talking to you as professional marketers in senior roles and thinking, well, you are the CEO, you are the chief emotion officer in your organisation because you own the brands. And when you think of your role as chief emotion officer, the best tool you have at your disposal is stories, and using stories to really maximise that brand footprint, both internally and externally. But how valuable are stories? Now, when I think about the value of stories, the best story I can think of is one of Robert Walker and his significant object study. What he did was something really interesting. He went to various thrift stores in the US and bought 200 random items, everything from a plastic banana right through to a ceramic horse's head. And he bought these items for a total of $197. Then he did something really interesting. He asked colleagues of his, fellow journalists and writers, to write stories about each of these items. So he had the story, he had the item, then he sold the items on eBay, the item along with the story. And what he found was he sold those items for a total of over $8,000. So it went from $197 right through to over $8,000. And you could say that difference was the difference the story made. So we know stories have real commercial value. And as marketers, it's incumbent upon you to really emotionally engage with internal and external audiences on your brands. So why don't we tell more stories? In our personal lives, it's estimated we spend about 70% of our time telling stories, listening to stories, telling stories, watching movies, watching Netflix or Stan, our favorite shows. But when we get to work, less than 10% of the time we spend telling stories. So why is that so? Now, when I ask that question of...
Yeah, so...
Wow, that's a blast from the past.
Exactly. So tell us about it, because I found it really intriguing. And I've had the opportunity to speak to a lot of CEOs, but they never seem to understand the gist of what you're saying. But it's so powerful and practical, especially when you look at the percentages. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And another example you could think of is Shark Tank. You think, well, in Shark Tank, 60% of the people pitching to the sharks win over, but 80% of them tell stories. And you'll see later in that video, I content analyzed many of these videos, looking at how they tell stories. Now, the reason stories work is that there's an idea called narrative transportation.
Okay.
And this idea is like, you can imagine when you're watching a movie, you get immersed in it. You feel like what's happening in the movie. I mean, one of the best movies I saw recently was the second Top Gun movie with Tom Cruise, Maverick. And you get immersed in the movie. You feel the thrill, that adventure. You get scared when you're watching those aircraft flying up mountains. Now, when you're telling a story or you're pitching with a story, the people that you're talking to get transported into that story.
Yes.
And for a while, their belief is being suspended. So it's much easier then to insert your message. Yeah. Plus, until like as recently as 1700, when Gutenberg invented the printing press, we had everything we learnt was by way of oral traditions and stories. Yeah. That's how we learnt things. So we are beings that are very comfortable in our DNA, hearing things by way of stories. Now, I mentioned in the video, in our personal lives, we hear and watch stories all the time. We come to work and become robots and put PowerPoint on. Now, and I say to my clients, I say, look, I'll say, give me a pitch, show me. I've done this with NFPs, I've done it with every industry sector you can think of. I say, look, show me a pitch. And they'll open a PowerPoint deck, they'll pitch it to me, and I'll say, look, can I be honest with you, Andy? And they say, yeah. I say, look, it's boring and confusing. And it's really hard to bore and confuse somebody into agreeing with you. And if in doubt, they just add more PowerPoint.
Right.
And using a PowerPoint deck is like watching a ship sink. It's like it's watching it just dive. I think so. Let's translate your message into a story where the customer is the hero of the story. In a typical movie or a typical story, you'll get introduced to the hero. In Top Gun's case, it was Maverick. Yeah. You introduce the hero, you like the hero, and the hero wants something, right? Just like your customer wants something, but there's something that gets in the way. There's a reason they can't have it. And every story follows the same format. Introduced to a hero, introduced to what they want, just like you want something, but there's a reason that's getting in your way, but you still want it, right?
Yeah.
So the story is about, when you translate your pitch into a story, it's about saying, hey, here's what you want, or here's what your customers want. Here's why they want it. and you're demonstrating a unique understanding of their needs and their environment. And that's the number one marker when you look at customer research. Customers say, the main thing I want from you is for you to uniquely understand my needs and my environment. Great. You got the customer, you got the unique needs, which you got from the collaborative conversations you had earlier. Now you can pitch it with a story. And that's the story. Here's the hero, here's the customer, here's what they want, but, and a big but, here's why they can't have it. Let's now explore how that journey or story might continue with us helping you achieve what you're looking for. That's the story. Right? Yeah. And you don't need slides to do that, because you know your story. And if you don't, you should quit. Right?
Yeah.
You must know your story, because if you've got no confidence in your story and you need 100 slides in 20 minutes to tell it, why should they have more confidence than you?
Yeah.
Why should they?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've got to be more confident than you want them to be. So, like, I'm not using notes and PowerPoint to talk to you. Am I? I didn't say, hi, Andy, let me just flip my PowerPoint and walk you through 10 points on each slide. Did I? Of course not.
No.
Of course not. I mean, if I was running a workshop, I might use some slides to keep it on track. But you know what? In 2-day workshops, you know how many slides I use, Andy? 3.
Wow. Yeah.
3 slides. Right? 3 slides. That's all. Not because I'm a genius, because I'm not, but because it works.
Yeah.
It works. And what I find is the worse the facilitator is, the more slides they use.
Okay. I get it. I get it.
I'm anti-slides. I'm anti-PowerPoint.
Yeah, I get it. You know, it reminds me of a story I read about the late, great Mahatma Gandhi. When he had the opportunity to go before the British Parliament, he spoke for about 2 hours with regards to the independence of his nation, of course, India. And the amazing thing about it is that during that period of time, there was not a single piece of note in front of him on the podium. So after he was finished, they wanted to interview him, you know, the British press is all there and so on. But he was so tired that his assistant decided, okay, I'm going to answer the questions. And the first question was, how could Mr. Gandhi speak for so long, just about 2 hours, no speech, no notes, nothing in front of him, no prompters, nothing. He said, what Mr. Gandhi did was spoke from the heart. And when it comes from the heart, you don't need no assistance. You just tell it like it is, because it is your truth. And I found that so powerful. And you support that theory by your methods that you use. I mean, 3 slides and you spent, what, 2 hours doing a...
2 days.
Yeah.
3 slides in 2 days.
Yeah.
And I mean, the beginning of that video you just showed, Andy, it said, and this is what I tell my CEO clients, you are the chief emotion officer. Your voice is amplified in the organization.
Right.
And people are watching you and amplifying you and magnifying you. So you need to emotionally engage with them. And the best way, you need to tell stories about who you are, who you are as a leader, of what's important to you, who they are in terms of the organization, the brand, the people in the company, and who the customers are, and how we as an organization are creating a unique relationship with them. We are uniquely valuable to them. That is our brand. That is who we are. And that's our brand story. And you as the CEO, that's your job. That is your job. And that is your overwhelmingly important job, to be led by you, because what you want to do as a CEO is generate followership, and people will follow you if they can resonate with the story. So you better get good at telling it and not show me PowerPoint slides, right?
Excellent.
Tell me the story. And the best CEOs I meet are really good at doing that.
Okay, great.
They're really good at doing that.
Great. Wonderful.
Yes.
We have had such a power pack past 30 minutes or so, and I really want to thank Peter for being on the show at this time. But I need to ask him 2 more questions.
Sure.
The first one is, what is the future like for Peter Anthony? Are there any upcoming projects to improve, increase, or innovate on the level of collaboration that you'd want people to have with regards to conversations and so on?
Well, I'm doing it right now, Andy. What I'm doing now is I decided last year, on the advice of a friend, to get more involved in podcasting, which I wasn't involved in at all, apart from a listener. So now I've begun becoming a guest podcaster, and fortunately, the service that I use, I've become one of the top 10 guests out of 10,000 people on this platform, right? Now, that's not because I'm a genius, it's because the message is so important, right?
Yeah.
Out of 10,000 guests in 4 months, I became top 10, right? Excellent. That's because the message is resonating. So the next leg of my journey is to become better at communicating this message with you and with your listeners, so that I can get the message out more.
All right.
The other thing I'm doing is I'm writing a book on storytelling. I've done the book on collaborative conversations.
Yeah.
The problem I've got, though, is I keep rewriting it. My editor's saying, "Stop rewriting it. Just I keep adding things in."
Yeah.
She's saying, "No." She said, "No more. That's enough. 40,000 words, 10 chapters. You're going to stop. You're going to quit."
Yeah.
But I keep revising it, adding more stories, adding more insights in. But that's two things: keeping up the podcasting message, getting this message of collaboration out, and getting the second book happening, which is all about strategic storytelling.
Great. Wonderful.
Which is my other passion.
Yes. Yeah. Wonderful. Yeah. Peter, you have been so engaging and so honest. I can tell you're passionate about what you're doing, and that's extremely important. So before we go, I just want you to share your social hashtag handles with people. Tell them how they can get the book, how they can get your professional services. I know there are a lot of people out there that would need to get your information, and probably they want to get it directly from you, from the horse's mouth, so to speak. How can people make
on the horse?
Yeah, magical one too.
a magical, like a unicorn, a magical horse.
Yeah.
So you can find me. The best way to find me, just type in Peter Anthony Consulting. Peter Anthony Consulting into your search engine. You'll find my website, you'll find my YouTube, you'll find my Facebook, or you can also find my book. It's called Collabradabra. It rhymes with abracadabra because it's the magic of collaborative conversations. And just reach out, text me, email me. I'm happy to help you, talk to you. We can Zoom. I'd love to hear your story and see whether we can collaborate and I can help you achieve your outcomes. I'd love to do that.
Exactly. Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you so much. So, folks, we have been in the presence of this genius. I would call him
genius. Wow.
Yes. I use the term genius not lightly, but because of the fact that you seem to have remained consistent. And when I ask you about what happened in your personal life with regards to what you are sharing, there was this genuine discourse. And what it tells me is that before you actually began to get this information out, you experienced it yourself. And that's really, really powerful. And that's important. So yeah, genius.
Wow. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So remember, folks, to stay tuned on Andy's Personal Development. This is our mother podcast, The Breakout Room. And we have been given a lot of information by the man, Peter Anthony, with regards to collaborative conversations. Remember, our webinar coming up on the 6th of March, Monday, the 6th of March, 2023. Register for it. It's entitled The Power to Overcome. We're going to deal with so much information that will give you the vital tools to improve on your self-confidence, your level of belief, and your ability to manage withdrawal, anxiety, and burnout. So visit the website at www.andyspersonaldevelopment.com and register for that upcoming webinar in the month of March, the 6th of March, 2023, beginning at 10 a.m. AST time. It's called The Power to Overcome. And so we want you to overcome the lack of communication you have by enjoying the magic of collaborative conversations. So go out there and get the book. Collabradabra by Peter Anthony. Visit the website and get all the information. Until then, this is Andy and Peter saying so long.
Bye. Bye.
Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Peace.
Remember, health, happiness, and prosperity. Continue to seek that, people, all the time. Bye for now. Okay.
Was that good, Andy?
That was excellent.
Okay, cool. Can I ask you advice on something? Can I just,
Sure.
I've been doing a lot of these podcasts, and I think like the social media handles are quite cumbersome. I'm thinking, and I've checked this, of buying a URL called Collaboration Guy, either the Collaboration Guy or just Collaboration Guy. Is that something that you think might work or not? If I'm talking about collaboration,
it can work
as easier.
Yeah, you need to go bit.ly.com. Visit this website, bit.ly, bitly.com.
Yep.
And they will put it together for you. There's packages, but there's also a free package that you can use. And you can create your own URLs and put them out there, and they would manage everything and do all the stats and so on and send it back to you.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. But do you think that would be easier, like from your point of view, if you say, what's your social media? And I said, the Collaboration Guy. Would that?
You can put that, or you can put Collabradabra, the magic of collaborative conversations, or you could cut it down, just say collaborative conversations. Whatever you choose to put, they will create that perfect URL for you, and it will fit on all platforms. All platforms.
So which is easy? Which do you think, the Collaboration Guy or Collaboration Guy? Which do you think would work, or doesn't it matter?
I guess it depends on the audience that you're seeking to capture.
Yeah. Because they do the story piece too, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
Using the definitive pronoun might be better. The collaborative guy. It would arouse a certain level of curiosity.
Okay, cool. Hey, can I ask you too, where that accent comes from originally? I'm just really curious.
Trinidad and Tobago. I'm in the Caribbean.
You're a Caribbean.
That's right.
I was trying to place it. Where's that accent come from? It's very cool. I love it.
Yeah.
Where are you now? You live where?
Okay, I'm in the southern part of the island of Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay.
Actually, yeah. So.
Oh wow, beautiful part of the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, you're very fortunate. Now potentially we can do this again at some stage in the future, Andy.
Definitely, we will hook up
on a different topic. Yeah.
Yeah, of course, we will do that. So we'll collaborate.
Thank you. I love it. Thank you, Andy. You're a good man.
Thank you, Peter. You're an excellent guy as well. You keep on doing what you're doing, and much success to you going forward in the future.
Thank you, sir. Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye for now. All right.
Bye.